The History and Evolution of Hot Yoga, Part 5. If you've watched Parts 1 through 4, I appreciate you tuning into the channel. In fact, we just hit 4,000 subscribers this week, so thank all of you for your continued support. And this is our 194th episode, so 6 weeks from now, we'll hit the 200 episode mark. So once again, thank you for all your support. In Part 4, I talked about the breakup between Bikram and Barkin. Definitely an emotional video for me to make because there's a negative. The negative was that I was brought up in the hot yoga world under Bikram's guidance. I was Bikram's most senior teacher. His family, Bikram was family. His family and my family became one. It was really like a divorce. In fact, I had students who thought that their parents had divorced when Bikram and I split. Some of them stayed with me, some of them stayed with Bikram. But before we continue on, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell. If you're enjoying this video and you want to learn all about hot yoga, tutorials and flows and factoids, hit the subscribe button and the like button right now. So that part of my yoga career, that part of my yoga life was over. I mean, Bikram came to my house pretty much every year. I went to Los Angeles 3, sometimes 4 times a year. One time Bikram came to his house with Bishnu, his son, Bishnu. That's the first time. Actually, we had met in LA, but he came to my house and I was struggling with asthma at the time, and he gave me this yogic session. He gave me this mustard oil to take to help with my asthma. Bishnu and I became friends. Here's a little side story. The last time I saw Bishnu was in India, and we were on this big trip. This was the year 2000, and we were in a hotel in Mumbai, and I was about to leave. In fact, it was 4 in the morning, and I was leaving early. The rest of the trip was going to Calcutta, but I had to go back to do a Bikram workshop in somewhere in the Northeast. So we're checking out the hotel, and Bishnu's in front of me, and he's arguing with the clerk because Bikram was supposed to have paid for his bill, but Bikram didn't. So he's going back and forth in Bengali, I think, or maybe it was Hindi, I don't know. Anyway, Bishnu was so upset that Bikram didn't pay for his bill even though he was supposed to, and he turned to me, and the last words that Bishnu said to me was, "Bikram is such an asshole."
I can't believe he said that!
And the irony over that is because they were best friends. I mean, Bishnu is the one that arranged for Bikram and Rajeshri to get married because Rajeshri was under the guidance of Bishnu in Ghosh's College of India. So that part of my life was over, and it was sad. There was a separation. I definitely grieved the loss. That was the negative. But now, let's talk about the positive.
I think I'm excited.
So it was pretty much 20 years into my career is when Bikram and I split. And one of the first things that I wanted to do was improve on the sequence. Based on my 20-year experience, I found that there was a few things missing. And some small things I was starting to do before Bikram and I split. In fact, when Bikram found out, he was really upset about it. But one thing I started doing before Bikram and I split was adding child pose after the second set of bow pose. Interesting enough, Emmy Cleaves was doing the same thing. There was another posture that I loved that actually, I'm pretty sure Emmy might have even showed me that pose. It's what I call Janapadasana 1, when you bring your foot up on top of the thigh. And it's a great hip opener. It gets into the glute and into the piriformis. So now what I wanted to do was starting to improve and build on the sequence that Bikram had brought to this country, and in my 20 years experience, make it better. Let's back up a little bit. See, I was never subjected to the 26 and 2 sequence for my entire yoga career because 3 months into my practice, I was doing Bikram's 91 Posture Advanced class.
Now he's just showing off.
Bikram, really, I was one of the few people that Bikram allowed to even teach the advanced class. He didn't want his people that started opening up yoga colleges of India across the world. He didn't want them teaching the advanced class. He wanted them just to teach the 26 and 2. Only a chosen few were even allowed to teach the advanced class. So what I found was 2 main things were missing in the 26 and 2 sequence, which I love. In fact, I'm still doing teacher training programs. I'm about to fly to New Jersey next month and do a 26 and 2 teacher training program. And if you're interested in attending, I put an application in the description below. So before I even tell you what I chose to improve on, I just wanted to go on record saying that I love the 26 and 2 sequence. It's really a wonderful foundation and beginning practice for people. But I found in my experience as a teacher, if you're just doing the 26 and 2 Bikram class, you're going to get flexible, you're going to get strong, you're going to get better right away. But at one point, this is my opinion, a different type of rigidity will set in because you're just doing the same thing the same way every day, which really goes against the principle of weight training. In weight training, you never do the same exercises all the time. You want to shock the body. So taking, let's say, for example, the spine in another direction. So if we're doing triangle in this way, but now in what I've learned from other styles of yoga, doing a revolving triangle, taking the spine in the other way, adds for an even greater range of motion. So one of the first things I added was revolving triangle, which has a twisting effect to the spine, which we do in spine twist, but I wanted to bring even more to the practice. So another posture that I brought into the Barkin method sequence was a floor twist, what they call in other styles of yoga, Chattara Parivartanasana, or belly twist, because the belly and the lower back are super connected. So now we're taking the spine in the opposite direction, creating once again a greater range of motion for the spine. Now, in my personal practice, I have very tight hips. My claim to fame was my hamstrings. My back bend was pretty good. It still continues to be pretty good to this day. My hamstrings, I still can do a full split, thank goodness. But I always had tight hips. In fact, I even had 2 hip replacements because the doctor said actually I was deformed genetically, meaning the ball in the socket of the hip, my ball, the bone, was much bigger than the socket, just genetically. Therefore, it eventually grinded away at the labrium that connect the tissue, and I had to get 2 hip replacements. So hip openers is one of the first things that I started to implement in the Barkin method practice. So when we get to the floor after the standing poses, I don't go right away into wind removing. I do reclining gentle pose, which is an external rotation of the hips. Then we do wind removing, or the literal translation is wind liberation. And then we do the floor twist. And then we do the posture that Emmy taught me, what I called and later named myself Janaparasana 1. And then we do Janaparasana 2, which is an internal rotation of the hips. So once again, postures on the floor, and I almost forgot happy baby as well. So these are postures that once again will get deep into the hips, open up that area, creating a greater range of motion for the body. And another thing that I saw was missing in the Bikram 26 and 2 sequence, and that's upper body strength. Now, Bishnu Ghosh and Bikram were weight trainers, which I continue to do to this day. However, if you're just doing the 26 and 2 sequence, you're not going to get as much upper body strength. So that's why I started to add in more chaturangas, or yogic push-ups, to start building more upper body strength. We do those in sun salutation, we do those in the moon salutation, and we do multiple chaturangas in the Barkin method hot vinyasa class. So in the Barkin method world, I teach 3 specific classes. The Barkin method hot yoga class, which is a little more similar to the 26 and 2 in that we do mostly 2 sets of the balancing poses. But once again, I added the upper body strength in sun salutation for chaturangas, and I added the hip openers on a daily basis. But then we get into awkward pose and eagle pose and standing head to knee and standing bow, which I teach in all my classes. Those are my 2 favorite poses in the hot yoga world. So the Barkin method hot yoga class, once again, a little more similar to the Bikram class, the 26 and 2, but I added upper body strength and hip openers. And the second class was inspired when I was on the Yoga Journal circuit. As I was representing Bikram in all the Yoga Journal conferences, we did a yoga cruise. We were in LA, we were in Miami, we were in LA. The times that I represented Bikram, not just Yoga Journal conferences, Johnny Kest had one up in Michigan, Omega had a conference, and I was turned on for the first time the top vinyasa teachers in the country. I was studying with Shiva Ray, with Rainbow Mars, especially Sean Korn. Sean Korn and I became very good friends. In fact, I went out to LA for a couple weeks just to study with Sean Korn. And I love the whole concept of the vinyasa format. Lots of upper dogs, downward dogs, chaturangas. I actually do a double chaturanga in honor of the way that Bikram and Bishnu Ghosh do their sun salutation. But here we are in downward dog. I'm sitting in downward dog doing a vinyasa class, a whole vinyasa seminar in LA. And I said to myself, how can I bring this into my own practice and teach it? And that's when the light bulb went off.
I got a great idea.
And I said, from downward dog, now we step up into one of our poses. We step up into how Bikram starts his advanced class, the salute to the god and goddesses, or step up into our triangle, or our standing separate leg head to knee. And that's when I then created, drumroll, Barkin method hot vinyasa class. One more concept that I added into the Barkin method that's a little different than Bikram, but more similar to Bishnu Ghosh. So for example, in India, if you came to Bishnu Ghosh or Ghosh's College of India, people come with different needs. So a teacher would evaluate that student and prescribe to them a series of poses that that particular student needed. For example, somebody may need more hip openers. Somebody may need more back bend. Somebody may need more hamstring stretch. So the teacher would prescribe to them their own sequence, and they would deep dive into that area to open it up. So now in the Barkin method, both the Barkin method hot yoga and the vinyasa class, we have 4, sometimes 5 different sequences that we do at the end of the class. So the last 15 to 20 minutes, we'll do a sequence of hip openers. One day we'll do a sequence of back bends. Another day we'll do the back strengthening Cobra series. Another day we'll do the fixed firm or Supta Vajrasana series. So therefore, we're shocking the body. We're not always doing the same thing. However, the beginning of the class is always the same, so we can continue to measure results, as in standing head to knee and standing bow. But at the end of the Barkin method, both hot yoga and vinyasa class, you don't know what it's going to be. It's really the teacher's choice to bring in different postures on a daily basis. So now that I came up with my sequences, it was now time to create my own teacher training programs. Even though I was certifying Bikram teachers back in the late 80s, early 90s, now in 2003, I started my first inaugural Barkin Method teacher training program. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that in next week's episode, History and Evolution of Hot Yoga, Part 6. So that's our episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell. If you're enjoying this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.